Scorn is a survival horror adventure game developed by Ebb Software, published by Kepler Interactive, and was released on October 14th of 2022 for Xbox and was later released on PS5 on October 3rd of 2023. It is a first-person game with the gameplay consisting of a lot of environmental puzzles and combat with some muscular meaty freakos. The game has a unique and distinct art style that is heavily inspired by the work of H.R. Giger. The game plays with the relationship between life and death, metal and flesh, and humanity and machinery in a way that sees them working together and the duality of the ideas and the form that they are in. The story of Scorn is incredibly vague, mysterious, and left to interpretation, but it leaves a lot of hints where everyone can follow the same through line to reach the game's incredible conclusion. You play as a couple of enigmatic figures who are seemingly trying to get through a torn-down barren wasteland, and by working their way through large abandoned factories, labyrinths, and towers in this mystifying world, they get one step closer to their goal. Through collecting key items like a wristband with an extractable key attached to it, or the key items collecting you, like a parasite that attaches on your back and which you can use its tail as a gun, the gaunt protagonist tumbles through harrowing experience after harrowing experience to reach the treasured and satisfied ending they long for. The perplexing story draws you in immediately and beckons you to fall into its world. The art design and environment really go hand in hand with the story that is being told and create subtle visual nuances that accentuate the story even more. The story has an old school type of feel to it because there is no dialogue and you are dropped into situations with no real understanding of what is going on, but the fun of the game comes from figuring the story out. Through loose symbolic meanings of statues and thematic ebbs and flows of your journey, you will start to connect the invisible tissue that encapsulates the purpose of everything. The gameplay of Scorn is slow and deliberate. A lot of the game is based around environmental puzzles with some enemies sewn in between to mix up the urgency. You will have to deal with locked doors and going from floor to floor to figure out the correct sequence order of buttons you need to push to continue. There is a puzzle where you need to get a particular pod out from a tangle of other pods, and there is a puzzle that deals with a rotating maze. A lot of the time you are left to wander the whole hallways in confusion. Sometimes you never know what you are doing until after the fact, and you go, "Oh, okay, now I get it." While trying to brute force your way through the game isn't a very reliable tactic, continually moving around and messing with puzzles and other things in the environment will naturally help you understand their functions and see what they open up, which makes it easier to understand how everything connects. The combat is almost non-existent at first, but ramps up once you get away into the different acts of the game. The game gives you very little ammo on purpose, so you have to intentionally pick your battles. There are different weapons in Scorn, from a pistol-like weapon, a shotgun, and a tool gun that doesn't use ammo, but instead fires out a hefty rechargeable punch. While you can run past enemies to preserve your ammunition, taking out enemies is very useful if you need to tread back through the same area. Some of these little freaks are fast and will follow you for a while, and some others have some nasty long-distance attacks that can be annoying. There isn't a traditional HUD in the game, but if you look down, you can see your body, which will inform you of your state of health and ammo count. Health and ammo can be received at stations sparsely placed throughout the game, and serve as a blessing when you find one. Scorn makes it clear through the combat that there are stakes in this game, and it's embellished in this risk-reward system of design. The intensiveness of the story and environment complements the gameplay and its mechanics in a thoughtful way, by not only providing dread and somberness to you through the techniques of conceptual interpretation within your surroundings, but also by demanding attention and steadfast decision-making while actually playing. Graphically, Scorn is stunning, and the art design triumphantly reiterates the subdued colors and eviscerated gory style. The otherworldly music and cold intense sounds, coupled with this, create a spectacular ambiance that is unmatched by any other. Biomechanical ooze from pustules pulsate on ceilings and walls. Skin-sheeted panels slither open and fleshy sack mounds flop with a weighted thud. The game does a fantastic job at submerging you into its stench depths of increasing grotesque illustrations and inclined tonal disparities. While the game is pretty linear and lasts about 6 to 10 hours, it doesn't feel short at all. The game does a good job at making the playing space feel huge and the world feel even bigger, all while everything is feeling intrusive to the player. There are no typical video game-like collectibles in the game, which is actually great. With nothing to collect, you are fully immersed in the game even more, and it relieves you from one more stressful thing that you need to do. Although the corridors and rooms can look the same, and running around to figure out the next thing to do can be confusing at times, there is so much purpose in design and showing the player what to do and how to do it. The cues through shadows and lighting to guide you to an objective is impressive given the situations you find yourself in. The controls are pretty stiff in Scorn and can almost be cumbersome, but it never bothered me due to the slow pacing of the game. It's noticeable, but it doesn't feel jarring. Scorn does have a lot of content that was cut that I wish was able to be in the game for the sheer fact it would have made the entire journey feel more cohesive, but the impact of the game is still present even though the entire vision and scope wasn't realized. The criticism I see Scorn receive seems pretty brash and immaturely unwarranted based on the crux of the game's makeup. Scorn's identity is rightfully created from its twisted imagery and its biopunk themes. The ambiance is duly captured by the heavy body invading score and unnerving squelching sounds. The puzzles can get confusing by being twisted in the maze-like world, but completing them feels rewarding, and the justified entrancing environments guide you through the perplexities accordingly. The length of the game feels fine, although I wish the cut content could have been in the game in some ways to make the game feel more fulfilling. Stiff combat can be burdensome, especially with the vexation of having to manage yourself and your ammo, but the mechanics fall into place smoothly by the game procedurally providing these situations intentionally to fit the overarching style of play. Scorn is a metaphysical journey that fully captures the sentiment of apprehension and the unsightly imagery of body horror. Scorn's thoughtfulness and tenacity construct an unimaginable and worthy experience that you won't forget. I give Scorn an 8 out of 10.